Hi, this is A here. How are you all today? I hope you all are doing well and that your family and you are safe. And I just wanted to kind of give you a brief recap of what you should have been doing for class this week and kind of give you a preview of what's going to happen in the next week. All right, so if you are still unaware of where you need to go to find your digital notebook, I have it underneath classwork. Just a reminder that it is underneath classwork. The initial one right here is Imagineering in a Box, digital notebook. You make a copy and then you use it. That's where on the assignments where it says fill in pages 16, 17, and 18, or all the different kinds of pages, that's where you're filling things out. So you're not doing it on an actual notebook, you're doing it on the digital notebook. So you can submit this at the very end of the quarter. All right. So I went through and I noticed there were some people that did not have digital notebooks downloaded. So I resent those to you. So look for those. If you still do not have it, you need to reach out to me as quick as possible so that I can get you set up, because you are going to be a little bit in the weeds if you don't have that notebook set up. Okay. And then again, the videos, if you were not able to watch the YouTube videos, are here on the Imagineering in a Box website. I already have mine pulled up. It has different checked off lessons and different checked off videos. And so you can kind of go along. So for the sake of clarity, we are in unit 1 of this, like, actual big um, big lesson. So unit 1 is comprised of all these little subsections. So it'd be unit 1-1, unit 1-2, 1-3, 1-4. So this week you were doing unit 1 exercise 4, which is building design, and then unit 1 exercise 5, which is landscape. So you're looking at buildings and plants. That's what you were looking at this week. So let's actually jump into the actual notebook. So I'm going to just go through my notebook and type out a couple things that maybe I think are important that you should keep in your notebook and that you should include, and then just kind of talk a little bit about the videos themselves. All right, so again, if you get these like copied pages, you can just go ahead and delete these little slide notes. You don't have to have those there. But this week is all about building design and architecture. And I know in the past we've talked a lot about architecture in terms of like elementary architecture and just kind of a general discussion of building and how a building is sturdy and how you use a foundation and how you use shapes for making things that are actually sturdy and safe for people that use them. And so this whole unit is talking about, well, what's the difference if you take a theme park architect and you compare that to somebody who is a real world architect, who is somebody who's designing like a house or an office building or something like that. So the different vocabulary terms here are architecture, stable, and forced perspective. And I'll go into forced perspective in just a second. But I want to really kind of get into the Venn diagram. So the Venn diagram here, so a real world architect, they were saying, has to do with, just the functionality and the necessity of the user. So somebody that's, building a house, what do they need? What does that user need inside that house? So for me, I'm going to put that their final shape. So like in their design, the final shape of the product is what they designed. And it is designed, that is really small, with user in mind. So let me go ahead and increase that. So if you compare that to a theme park architects not only are looking at the function of a space. There's a huge bright light. So let me try and get that back. Yeah. You're just going to have to deal with this, this reflection right here. Anyways, so not only do theme park architects need to look at their final form, but with everything we've been talking about, they need to take a look at the story. They need to take a look at the setting, the land, the world that it's in, because you can't just have just a random like building without theming in, like, say for instance, they were talking about like the Pandora, the Pandora world that they're creating. You wouldn't just have like a blank brick building that's like for restrooms or an office building. They would design that building to naturally flow into the landscape of their world. So a theme park architect looks at functionality as well as story and character. So theme park architects design with theme in mind all times. So if it doesn't fit the theme, chances are it does not go into the final outside design that you see. And so something that they have in common is that they all build for the needs of the people. Whether they were talking about how you need to design a ride house to be able to house people that are waiting in line, but also design a place where they can walk through the gift shop at the end of the ride. So that's kind of the functionality that that specific design needs, as opposed to the functionality of a house, like a typical house that has like the different zones, the different places that you live. You got to make it comfortable. You got to make it so that it works with your family and works with your needs inside that actual house. So everybody, the real world architects and the theme park architects, they all work for people's needs. They also all have gone to architecture school. They've all studied different architecture styles in school. Maybe I'll take away that little thing right there. Yeah. So the thing that kind of sets theme park architects apart is that you saw in the video that these architects went to extreme lengths, where they went above and beyond. They did like this road trip. They took pictures of all the little itty bitty details that we wouldn't necessarily look at, but it brings that cohesiveness together. It brings that theme and that story together. So they were looking at like these old mainstays on Route 66 when they were designing Cars Land, and so they were looking at like the brick, like how the bricks have weathered over time, and they're trying to just get that authentic feel. So I'm going to kind of put the word authentic storytelling, and they're trying to get that character so that the buildings themselves kind of become a character themselves. All right. Let's see if there's anything else that I have on my notes. So as opposed to a real world architect is that they typically do not design to an actual theme. So that is what your Venn diagram should look like. Probably shouldn't have that too many more than what I have. You might have more, you might have less, but if you have these bits of information down, that is perfectly fine. Okay. Going on to our vocabulary slide. So concept architects, they were talking about concept architects. Those are the architects that deal with story and guest interactions. So they deal with the story. They deal with what the guests see on the outside. So if you're coming across this building in Cars Land, it's not just going to be, a plain building that looks like it's not doesn't belong there. These people think about what you're going to see and how you're going to interact with that building. Now, the project architects, on the other hand, these are the people that actually work together with all the other different disciplines, like the people that are bringing in electrical and plumbing and foundation work and all those different things. These are the actual architects that work on site building those actual structures. Okay. So they're putting together all, or let's say coordinating between all disciplines and monitoring the build. Okay. So yeah, that's basically it. So let's see, let's look for a picture real quick. Let me do that example. So let's insert an image, search from web. Let me move myself over here. Let's say, so it deals with the facings that are on the guest thing. So let's look for Animal Kingdom Disney. Let's do that. So Animal Kingdom Disney, that could be like this picture right here. So a concept architect would look at the outside signage, the outside look of the actual building itself, and then they would be in charge of that. There you go. Okay. And then functionality on here is so the function of something is what it does. So how do you use it? So how you use an object or how you use a building. So what is the function of that building? So going back to the like ride scenario, you need like the holding area, you need like the inside line building area where people are getting through. You need like the actual loading station, loading platform. You need the gift shop at the very end. So what is the functionality? What is the area that you're designing for going to do? Okay. How you use an object, or the clouds are coming in and out. How you interact. Okay. So let's say, let's just do a general search of function. All right. Stressing me out again. Sorry, all that back and forth. Let's see. Function of a ride. To actually look for it. So the function is how you use an object or how you interact with it. So my picture of riding on a roller coaster works with that, but I probably could find something a little bit better that shows how people use an object. Okay, so your exercise on here is that you are going to sketch a building that fits into your theme park land. So something that when you were taking a look at your theme, something that fits in. So I want you to take a look at through the eyes and the lens of a theme park architect, not a real world architect. You're not just going to be like, oh, okay, this is my roof, this is my building, this is my window, boom, we're done. No, you need to take a look at just like how the theme park architects did. They went to source images. They actually went somewhere. They looked at something. So they were looking at like, very historic areas that kind of give the idea of history. Or if you're looking at like a futuristic theme of I want you to take a look at some images that kind of, talk about futuristic design process and design thinking for that. Okay. Okay, so the second thing that you're going to do this week is you're going to work on landscape design. So, landscape design is a very, very interesting field of design and engineering as you're looking at how your natural world interacts with, um, plants and the engineering of where you place those plants. So the landscape is everything that you look around you. So if you look out and you see like trees being planted in your neighborhoods, or if you see like um, different designs and different placements of different plants, there's a reason that people place plants in different parts. Like when you look at it like a manicured area, obviously when you're looking at like a forest, that is a natural, you know, disbursement of plants. But if you're looking at like a curated area, like a theme park, you want to make sure that the plants that you're using will not, if you plant them, they're not just going to shrivel up and die. They're not just going to, take over the native plants in that area. You don't want to build and place a whole bunch of real kudzu in an area that doesn't need to be there, because the kudzu will just take it over everything. So you want to take a look at, all right, well, maybe I want the look of kudzu, but I don't want the actual plant itself. You need to take a look at maybe fabricating or making uh, a photorealistic version of that plant, you know. So that's what theme park landscape architects do. They look at what plants actually can survive in an area that look very similar to what the look that they're trying, the theme that they're trying to go with, and also take a look at maybe making and fabricating their own plants themselves that fit into their world. Okay. The word indigenous, the word indigenous means like first, like it was there first, like it's native to that area. Um, it it builds it, or not builds it lives there naturally. All right. So I want you to think about, we'll say for instance, if you are looking at native plants in Arizona. So you would take a look at these plants and go, okay, I know Arizona is very hot, very dry. These are the look of these plants, but can these plants actually survive in Georgia or wherever you're trying to build your actual theme park? It's not to be too in depth about it. Just kind of do like a quick plant palette, just pull in some pictures for a collage. All right. Oh, oh, you see what I missed there? So I missed talking about um, what's it called? Uh, Force perspective. So I missed talking about force perspective. I brought this image up specifically, and this is a great place to end. So force perspective is where you trick the eye into thinking something is either taller or smaller than it really is. And so in this case, when we're looking at like Disney World or Disneyland, the actual second stories on a lot of the buildings are actually done a little bit smaller in a different perspective than they would be in real life. And that is to kind of trick, not in a malicious way, but just kind of trick your eye into thinking that the height of the object is taller than it really is. So if you've ever done like perspective with Miss Summers, formerly Miss Flatley, you know that you have like two lines that converge. Think about like a road that converges at a point. Okay. So if you take that road, like actual analogy, you take a look at it on this image right here, you can see that it just kind of comes up to that point on the very top. But what you don't know is that the second level, like right here, is a different proportion than this first bottom level. Actually, this first like large area that you're interacting with is larger than it would be in real life, and then they purposely make it a little bit more wide than it needs to be, and then the second level is smaller than it needs to be, Same thing with like the third level. And then at the very top, they kind of scale it down so that your eye looks like, wow, I'm really looking up at like a really tall building, but this is only about 180 feet tall, which sounds tall, but it's not in terms of like tall in terms of a castle. Okay. So they've done a great job at taking a look at perspective and using perspective in their designs. So you could think about using perspective in your building designs by kind of just, narrowing the second level of a building if you have it and make it look like it's a little bit taller than it needs to. All right. That's a lot of talking today, but I hope that kind of gives you an idea of what you should have done for this week. Next week, you're going to be looking at materials, like the materials usage. So you're going to be looking at different materials to build like a footpath, the different materials that are used to actually build like the fake facade type of deals on different buildings that you encounter. Um, and then you're going to also take a look at graphics. So how does like the actual like the wording, the signs, how does that actually add to the guest experience and the theme? So you're going to kind of take a look at like a graphic designer perspective on theme parks. So I hope you have a great rest of your day. I hope you're safe. Send me any emails if you have any questions, but I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, y'all. Toodaloo, take care. Bye.